Fugitives. Nova. Let him go. I repeat, tears falling from my eyes. You have to choose, Nova. Because if you do this, if you choose that thing, if you walk out that door with it, you can never return. You will no longer be part of this family. He roars, causing my mother to try and speak, but it comes out incoherent. You will no longer be my daughter, my heiress, he adds, his voice now low and quavering. I have made my choice, I reply, looking my father in the eye, my voice breaking at the end, seeing a lone tear trailing down his cheek. I don't want to lose my home. I don't want to lose my parents. I love them with all my heart. But Nolan is my heart, and right now he's dying. My father nods, wiping his cheek before turning to the guards and signaling them to release him. They break the rope circle by opening a little gap, and a sob escapes me as he gasps for air. Finally able to breathe. He's still weak since he's still next to the rope, but it's not killing him now, and he should be able to get up. He does, his eyes immediately turning black, meaning he's got his strength back, which surprises me since it's not supposed to happen while still standing in close proximity to the rope. The circle is still almost closed. I'm sorry. My voice comes out lower than intended as I start to retrieve my hand from my mother's heart before nodding at Nolan, but gasp, wrapping my arms around his neck as he takes me out of the palace in a blur. Using his vampire speed, I place my head on his chest, sobbing, broken. I just lost my family. I don't know where we are going, and I don't know what we are going to do, but I soon push away from him as a familiar scent hits my nose, and I realize he has brought me to the cave. He sets me down, and just then Anna appears out of the shadows and rushes up to me, pulling me into a hug. I'm so glad you're okay, she says as I hug her back, feeling numb, and I break down in her arms. It's gonna be okay, she whispers, rubbing my back. Anna doesn't know about this place. I don't know how she got here or why she's here, but I'm glad she's here. I lost them, Anna. I lost my family, I speak, still in the hug. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, she says, tightening her arms around me. I don't know what we are going to do, where we are going to go, I add, and she pulls back from the hug and looks at Nolan, who's now kneeling next to us, a tear running down his cheek, like they know something I don't. What? Why are you looking at him? I ask, wiping my tears. I have an uncle who works for a shipping company. He transports goods by boat. I spoke to him before coming to find Nolan, in case he needed somewhere to go lie low, and I needed an alibi in case someone grew suspicious of my disappearance during this whole thing. He agreed to smuggle him safely out of here. I didn't know you'd be going too, but I'm sure it won't be a problem, she says, and I engulf her in a hug before she's even finished. Shocked and humbled she did all that for us. Thank you, Anna, I tell her, tears flowing from my eyes again. You're welcome now. He leaves at 3 a.m. So you have to find a place to hide nearby. Until then I'll let him know you are coming, she says, and we get to our feet, realizing we need to get going. The council will be on our heels soon. This is the hardest thing I have ever had to do, but I don't regret it. Anna leaves, and I ask her to be careful. If my father found out what she did, she would be executed. She assures me she will, and we share one last hug. I'm glad I kept my friendship with her a secret and was very strict whenever people were around. Now it wouldn't be easy for anyone to suspect her, especially my parents. Our clothes are covered with blood, and Nolan doesn't even have a shirt on, but luckily, we come across a house that left their washing on the line for the night. Nolan uses his vampire speed to quickly grab a few things while I hide nearby, but when he comes back, he tells me it was all men's clothing. He changes into them, and they fit him, but they are too big for me, so I just take a shirt. It stops just above my knees, but it'll do. I silently take his hand as we proceed forward, linking our fingers together, the sparks instantly providing me with comfort. He hasn't really said much since we left the palace, and I know he's blaming himself. He tries to give me a reassuring look, but fails, causing me to tighten my hold on him. He didn't do anything wrong. I don't blame him for any of this. We reach our destination, and there's a lot of boats. but Anna did give us the name of her uncle's one. So we look for it. My mind keeps drifting back to my parents' faces, and my heart keeps breaking more and more. We finally spot it and make our way to the containers next to it to hide there. I wonder if Anna told him what Nolan is. I forgot to ask her, but I shake my head. She probably didn't. That would have been too risky. He would have said no. After sitting between the containers for I don't know how long, Anna's uncle shows up and takes us inside the boat. He has one crewman, and he tells us they'll share a cabin and gives us the other one. It's still dark, so he tells us to try to get some sleep if we can, and also asks where we want to go. We don't know, so we tell him we'll get off at the last stop. We thank him and head inside the cabin, but we don't sleep. I don't think we can. We sit on the small bed and I sit between Nolan's legs, my back against his chest. He quietly holds me and, contrary to what I thought, I feel myself drifting off to sleep, but the vibrating of his chest causes me to slowly open my eyes, and I realize he's crying and muffling his sobs. My heart shatters to pieces, and I push away from him before turning to look at him as he tries to sober up. Now that I'm awake, I don't say anything and just get on my knees and pull him into a hug, causing him to start sobbing again. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry, he says, his voice sounding broken, causing tears to escape my eyes as well. You have nothing to be sorry about, Nolan. This is not your fault. It is, Nova. All this is happening because of me, because you were given me for a mate, a broken, useless nobody. Nolan *, please don't say that . But it's true. I don't blame your father, Nova. He was just being a good father. Look where you are now because of me. You should have just let them kill me. Hey, * stop. I don't care where I end up. As long as we are together, I don't care about any of that other stuff. Yes, I'm scared and hurt about losing my family, but I don't regret choosing you. Even if I had to go back and choose again, knowing where we would end up, I'd choose you again, I tell him, cupping his face before pulling him into a hug again. Thank you for everything, I tell Anna's uncle as we get off at our stop. We spent a total of 12 days in his boat, and he was kind to us throughout the whole journey. He even bought us food and toiletries in the cities we stopped in. He also gave Nolan a few shirts and got me a dress to change into since I only had my pajama bottoms. We are currently in the kingdom of Abria, also under King Silver. This kingdom is the second smallest kingdom according to Raphael, Anna's uncle. We stopped in 7 cities before reaching the city of Oldham, which is the last city in Abria. We have a bit of money that he gave to Nolan since he helped him offload in all the stops we made. We didn't want to take the money even though we need it. We felt he had already done too much for us, but he insisted. We wave at them as the boat takes off, not even sure they see us. Before making our way out of the harbor, I look at Nolan and he gives me a reassuring smile as he drapes his arm around my shoulder, but I notice how pale he's gotten. He even has dark veins around his eyes. He needs blood. Raphael noticed it too, but was worried he was sick since he didn't know what he was. We notice that there are no houses next to the harbor. It's just a big industrial area. You need blood. I'll be okay, he says and tries to give me another reassuring smile. Where do we go now? I ask as we make our way between what seems to be big factories. It's 11 p.m. and it's the only time Raphael could drop us off without getting into trouble. He didn't have any goods to drop off here, and this harbor has guards. He was going to get in trouble for stopping here without paperwork, but this isn't his first time here. He's had encounters with the guards, and one of them once let him know that between 11 p.m. and 1 a.m. this place is unguarded, which is why he came to drop us now. We are keeping out of the lights. Since we don't know what we could encounter, we plan to be as human as we possibly can. I don't know much about this place. We only know what Raphael told us. He says there are werewolves here, but this is mostly a human-populated town, and that made us even more sure we wanted to come here. The council has most likely been notified about Nolan, and if the Supreme King doesn't know, it's only a matter of time before he does. So we have to be very careful. All the kingdoms will be on the lookout. We cannot afford to expose ourselves, no matter what. We need to find a place to sleep, so we'll have to walk to town and find a motel. He replies. A motel will cost us all the money we have. It might still not even be enough. We can't afford that right now. I know, but I can't expect you to sleep out here. Hey, I'll sleep anywhere, as long you're next to me, I tell him, stepping in front of him, cupping his cheek. Nolan spent months living in a cave. I know he doesn't care about a motel, he's just worried about me. Are you sure? He asks with this heartbreaking look in his eyes. Yes, I'm sure. Okay, then I think we should sleep here. So when the workers come tomorrow, I can ask if maybe there's a job that I can do, then we can go into town and look for a place that we can maybe rent. Nolan replies. And I agree, we look for a place that is not too exposed. We don't want to be ambushed while sleeping, and after walking around for a while we find a nice spot that looks secure enough between two buildings. The one side is closed off, which means we only have to worry about one side. Nolan takes the shirts out of the shopping bag and lays them on the ground for me to lie on. I do, and he lies behind me, shielding me from the wind. Good night, he whispers after placing a kiss on my head. Good night, I reply, and soon drift off to sleep. It's amazing how I sleep like a baby in his arms, regardless of where we are. Thank you so much for your patience. I'm now done with the other book I was writing and will be putting all my time into finishing this one. I thought I could do 2 books at once, but I failed, so I'm just gonna stick to 1 book at a time for now. Daily updates can be expected. Psychic warning: the chapter contains a bit of mature content. Nova. It's been 2 weeks since we've arrived here. Every day we wake up and look for work, but every day we come back empty-handed. We used some of the money that we got from Raphael to buy hair dye to try to change our appearances. I've also cut my hair. We both have sandy blonde hair now. Our descriptions have most likely been put out, and even if people miss Nolan, no one would miss me. I'm the lady. I was the lady of Nova. Everyone knows me. My heart clenches at that thought. We bought ourselves caps and glasses, but they aren't practical when it comes to looking for work. They make us look dodgy everywhere we see posters or announcements. We go closer and check. If it's not about us, we are forever watching our backs, scared that someone will tap on our shoulders at any time, telling us they recognize us. It became worse when we were passing by a herbal shop and we saw scores of wolves queuing in long lines in the sun. When I went closer and asked what was happening, the guy told me a vampire alert had been put out and they were queuing for the dragon root. The root protects whoever takes it, whether human or wolf, from the compulsion of vampires. You chew it and swallow once a day and you are protected for the whole day. We couldn't even look for work that day. We went to the park and sat there the whole day with no will or strength to do anything, paralyzed by fear. The following morning, after we had spent the night at the factories near the harbor, Nolan went to the places like he said he would, but they didn't have any work for him. It's been really hard, and I've found myself crying every time I get a chance to be alone. I don't want to cry in front of Nolan cause I can see he's really trying, and I know he'd feel like he isn't doing enough. The last time I had something to eat was 2 days ago cause I'm trying to save the little money we have. Nolan, on the other hand, hasn't eaten anything in days. Every time he tried he threw up, and now he just doesn't want to try anymore. His skin has gotten paler and drier. He's even starting to show black veins around his eyes. He needs blood the way he looks. I doubt people would give him work even if they had. Last night, I tried convincing him to compel someone and drink from them, but he doesn't want to. The last time Nolan drank from a live sauce, he killed the person, and now he doesn't trust himself. He's scared he'll lose control and get us caught. He also doesn't know how the compelling thing works exactly and doesn't trust it, and the fact that people have started consuming the dragon root is freaking him out even more. Some humans know about wolves cause some are dating them, and there's no telling which ones do. What I was asking him was risky, but I'm desperate. He's suffering, and watching him suffer hurts. Right now, we are currently in an abandoned house we found while roaming the streets 4 days ago, looking for a place to sleep. We had spent the past nights in the park after we encountered some trouble with some drunk werewolf guys in the alley. We were sleeping in before that. The guys messed around with us for 2 consecutive nights, and Nolan had to act defenseless and let me do the fighting for us. It was very hard for him to act helpless. especially when they came around the second time. So we decided to leave that area altogether before they showed up again and he lost control. It was obvious they were targeting us. And they were going to keep coming back 'cause they think I'm a vulnerable woman with a human boyfriend. No one bothered us in the park, except having to hide from the police 'cause they don't want anyone sleeping there. They weren't hard to avoid, since they only do a few rounds at the same time every night. We had figured out their routine, but it started raining, so we ended up having to look for another place since it was open with no shelter. We broke the back sliding door and used it to enter. And we have been sleeping here for the past 4 days. We wake up at first light so no one will see us and wait until we are sure the people in the surrounding hours are asleep before coming to sleep. There's no furniture here or anything, but we have a roof over our heads and that's all that matters. Plus there's running water and we are able to drink and shower, even if it's cold. Even as I tell myself that some people leave like this, some even worse, and that I have at least been fortunate for most of my life and that I'm not alone, I can't help but miss my life. I miss not having all these problems. Nolan pulls me tighter against him before whispering goodnight and I shiver, feeling his cold skin against mine where our arms meet. Not because I'm cold but because of the fire he ignites inside of me every time we're this close to each other, yet he always seems so indifferent to it. I wonder how he does it. I know we are both too stressed right now, and flesh desires should be the last thing on our minds. But this, it's too strong. It's very hard to fight. Doesn't he feel it? Good night, I reply and close my eyes, and soon I feel sleep slowly taking over. But just then a light brightens the whole house, causing us to sit up. It's coming through the front window, and it's from a car. We get to our feet, and we can hear doors opening and closing. We take one look at each other and both rush for our things. We hear the front door open as we exit via the back door before jumping over the fence. That was close, I mutter as we stand on the other side of the fence, hiding behind a tree, watching as the guys shine their torches inside the house, arguing that people were there from this distance. I can't tell if they are human or werewolves. Carla can't sense them. Do you think they live there? I doubt it. I think they are just using the place like we were. Do you think the park is still wet? Yeah. Let's go to the alley. I don't think the rain got through there. What about those guys, Nolan? It's very late now. I don't think they are still around. Plus we haven't been there for the past couple of days. They most likely moved on, he says, taking our shopping bags in one hand and putting his arm around my shoulder, pulling me closer to him as we start to make our way back to the alley. I pray those guys don't show up. Nolan, Silver, you waited up? I ask Cora, finding her sitting up on my bed, leaning against the headboard with a book on her lap. I guess I missed you, she says with a smile I can't quite read. In that case then, let me get a quick shower and you can show me just how much. Or on second thought, scratch that, I say hurriedly, taking off my clothes before climbing on the bed and pulling her down. Making her giggle, I come over her before leaning down to kiss her, but she puts her arm on my chest, blocking me. I'm no longer in the mood, she says, making me furrow my brows, confused. What did I do? What are you talking about? I can smell her on you, Nolan, she says, making me sit up while still straddling her legs. She knows I was with her for the whole 3 days. We were at a 3-day summit. I told you then I was going with her. You didn't say you were going to fuck her. I didn't fuck her. Whatever. Get off of me. What do you want from me, Cora? You know I have to pretend to be interested in her. I can't exactly do that by keeping her away from me. Why are you even jealous? It's not like you're in love with me or some shit, or are you? Ha! Please. She scoffs, pushing me off of her. Okay, you know what? I'm going to go take a shower and then I'm going to come back and sleep. I'm tired, I tell her, and get off the bed, heading straight to the shower. I don't have time for her stupid tantrums. 1 minute she's happy and understanding, the next she's all dark and gloomy, and then she wants me to commit the rest of my life to this shit. I find her still sitting up when I come out of the shower, but I don't say anything. I just climb on my side of the bed and pull up the blankets. Facing away from her, I don't even know why she's in my room. If she's not in the mood, I hear her sigh after a moment and soon feel her arm snaking around my waist before slipping inside the elastic of my pajama bottoms, causing my breath to hitch as she takes me in her hand. "I'm sorry," she whispers, as she slowly starts gliding her thumb over my head. "I'm not mad because you're pretending. I'm mad because I have come to like you, Nolan," she adds, making me horny and confused. "I mean like you enough to not want to kill you," she clarifies, causing me to lie on my back wanting to look her in the face. But she presses her lips against mine in a fiery kiss that leaves me dizzy and more confused the moment I turn around. "Every time your mouth says something, your eyes tell a different story. You are not being honest with me, Nolan. You are keeping things from me again, even after I warned you against it," she says, still stroking my dick, making it hard for me to focus or hear what she's saying. "What are you talking about?" I ask with a breathy voice, my head sinking deeper into the pillow. I don't know what voodoo she's got on her fucking hands, but I never last when she does this. "You are not pretending with that Alexandra woman. You like her. It's not just about Anselm forcing you to marry her. You want to marry her. In fact, you have no intentions of killing Anselm either. All you're doing is thinking of ways to get rid of me," she says, and that finally snaps me out of it. The hell? Is she psychic? Does being a witch automatically make her psychic? I grab her hand and remove it from my dick. "Fuck," I curse out, panting as I sit up, looking at the creepy smirk on her face. "What dash," I start to say, but she cuts me off. "Shh," she says, placing her index finger on my lips. "Don't deny it, cause it'll only piss me off, and, as I've already said, I don't want to kill you, Nolan," she says, the last part turning her back to me before pulling the blanket over her. "Cora told me after the day she tried to kill the heart, that she won't just kill the heart if I double-cross her. She'll kill me too," she said. "Killing the heart alone won't give her any satisfaction, since it would mean she loses too. Anselm's traveling tomorrow. See to it that he doesn't return." With that, she switches her bedside light off, leaving me sitting there not knowing what the fuck just happened. A great cost. Nova. "Good afternoon, how may I be of assistance?" a guy asks as we stop in front of the counter in what looks to be a retail store with a restaurant on the other side. "We are wondering if you happen to be hiring by any chance. We are looking for work," Nolan tells him, since the guy has a manager tag on, and the guy tells us that they, unfortunately, aren't hiring at the moment. But just as we turn around to leave, someone asks us to wait. We stop and look up to see another guy emerge from the back. He looks to be in his late 20s and doesn't look like he works here. He's dressed in an expensive-looking tux, and I don't miss the Patek Philippe galoche on his wrist. He's probably the owner of this place's son, or maybe could even be the owner. Some people become successful early in life. "I hear you're looking for a job?" he asks, coming out from behind the counter, stopping in front of us, and Carla tells me he's a werewolf. The one we spoke to first was human. "Yes, we are," Nolan replied. "I'm a waitress short on the restaurant side," he says, looking at me, even though Nolan's the one who spoke to him. "Most likely because I'm a wolf like him. I'll take it, thank you," I reply before he's even finished. Feeling emotional suddenly. We had already accepted that today was going to be another fruitless day. We've been rejected in more than 8 places already. "Sorry, ***, Nolan says to the guy, cutting me off just as I'm about to ask when I can start. "Can we have a minute to discuss this, please?" he adds, making me furrow my brows in confusion. What is he doing? This is the break we've been praying for. There's nothing to discuss. "Sure, go ahead, but I will be leaving in 15 minutes, the guy says, looking at me, and I nod before tugging Nolan outside. "What's wrong?" "Something's off about him, Nova dash." "What do you mean?" "I didn't feel anything dash." I don't know, I can't put my finger on what it is exactly, but I feel it. I'm getting this bad vibe from him. I mean, the way he's looking at you, he says, causing me to cut him off with a chuckle before taking his hand in mine. What asterisk? I'm not trying to be funny here, Nova, I'm being serious. You're right, I'm sorry, I say, cupping his face. It's not funny, but seriously cute, I tell him, and watch his frown deepening. You're jealous. That's no. He tries to say, but I stop him mid-sentence by pecking him on the lips. I feel it too when someone looks at you, but you have nothing to be jealous of. You know I'm yours, right? I ask him, and he nods before opening his mouth to say, but I stop him. I'm not going to let him ruin this for us. We need it. You trust me, don't you? I ask, looking him in the eye, and he tells me he does. Then don't worry, the guy was most likely paying more attention to me because I'm a fellow wolf, I assure him, and peck him on the cheek before turning to leave, but he grabs my hand, causing me to turn around, and I open my mouth to speak, but the words die in my throat as he presses his lips against mine in a kiss that has me curling my toes. The contrast of his dry, chapped lips against my soft ones, making me moan in pure bliss as I wrap my arms around his neck, wishing I could go on forever. This is the second time he's kissed me like this since we met, but I pull back after a short moment. 15 minutes must almost be up. If not up already, I take his hand, and we head inside again. God, I wish I had more time to sober up. I'm a blushing mess right now. The guy comes forth again, meeting us halfway as we enter. When can I start? Well, there's an evening shift starting in 10 minutes, and our evenings are the quietest at this time of year. Would be a perfect time for you to learn, he says, making me surprised, and he notices my expression. Is there a problem? No, I didn't expect to start now, but it's totally fine. Are you sure? You can start tomorrow if you have a problem with today. No, I don't. Today's fine, I assure him, not wanting to make a bad first impression. It was bad enough that we kept him waiting after we were the ones desperate for a job. Okay, good. Then you can follow me to my office, and we'll discuss your contract before I leave, he says, and walks away after that, not waiting for me to reply. Shit. I need to find out what time I finish, I mutter before seeing the manager walking in our direction. I ask him what time the restaurant closes, and he tells me at 11 p.m., but also tells me not to worry, there's staff transport. I'll go knock on a few more doors, and then I'll head to our spot until it's time to come get you, Nolan tells me, and places a kiss on my forehead before telling me, I've got this, and walking out. I watch him for a bit as he walks away, and he looks back when about to turn the corner. My heart can't help but clench at our separation. This is the first time we are going to be spending hours apart since we got here. We knew chances were we were not going to get hired at the same place, but we were still hoping for it. I ask the manager for directions to the guy's office, also asking what his name is. He tells me the guy's name's Vance, and that he's the owner of the place. He also introduces himself as Luis. But my eyes widen as I remember I have not yet decided on a name for myself. Calling myself by my name is a definite no. I'm Aurora, I say as Carla whispers the name in my head. My name is Aurora, I repeat with more confidence the second time around. I don't understand how we could have changed our appearances, but slacked when it comes to deciding on names. It's a beautiful name. It's nice to meet you, Aurora, Luis says with a warm smile on his face as he knocks before opening the door for me to Vance's office. Hi, I nervously greet Vance again, even though we spoke just minutes ago, intimated suddenly as I walk in to find him all serious in his leather chair that screams boss. I have never worked in my life. I don't even know if I'm good at anything, but I'm going to give it my best. I just pray they're patient and don't fire me on the spot. Vance and I start our discussion, but the problem comes when he asks me for my documents. I don't have them. We did know this was going to be a problem, but we didn't know how to prevent it or solve it. I know one can always get new documents on the black market, but we don't know anyone here. We wouldn't know where to start, and things like that cost money. And we don't have money. Thinking of money, I wonder if I can get an advance, so Nolan and I can get ourselves a place to stay. I've had people ask me for advances back home, so I know it's possible to get one. It's not safe for us out there. Not to even mention the conditions. What am I even going to say when they want to drop me home at the end of the shift? I tell Vance the story Nolan and I came up with of saying we lost our documents in a fire, and I see his face turn into a slight frown. Of course, he can tell I'm lying. He's a wolf. He can hear my heartbeat. He doesn't call me out on it though, but tells me to make a plan and get them sorted. Costs he needs them. He gives me 2 weeks to bring them, and I tell him I will. Even though I have no idea how, he continues to tell me everything that I need to know and takes me to the restaurant. When we're done, he actually seems like a nice guy. Humble. Nolan: Silver, are you all right, son? My father asks as I walk him downstairs to his transport. He's leaving for Dornwich. That's where the council's headquarters are. Normally they'd come to him, but I suggested he go to them so he can get out a bit. I was worried about him. He's been cooped up in this palace, hardly ever leaving his room ever since Ares died. It hurts me to see him like this, especially knowing I'm the cause of his pain. Maybe what I'm about to do is not a bad thing after all. He's suffering. At least after today, he won't suffer anymore. He'll be with Ares, and he'll be at peace. I didn't want to kill father. All I wanted was the kingdom, and now I got it. I don't want to spill any more blood, especially his. I love him, and killing him will never give me any peace. But is peace that important? Is it more important than what's at stake? Is it worth risking everything for? There had to be a price for all of this, and it had to be great, and nothing can be greater than peace, right? I'm fine, father. It's just a little daunting to think you won't be here to hold my hand. That's all. I tell him, and it causes him to stop. I also stop and look at him, causing us to stand facing each other. You don't need me to hold your hand, he says, giving me a reassuring squeeze on both my shoulders with a proud look in his eyes, making me emotional. You are a great king, my son, and I can never tell you enough how proud I am of you, he continues before pulling me into a hug. And I can tell he's taken aback when I tighten my hold on him. When he tries to break the hug, he doesn't question me though, but holds me back tighter, and after a long moment, we finally pull back with me barely holding back the tears that want to fall. You know I can always cancel this trip and have the council come here, he says, cupping my face after pulling back. No, don't cancel it, father. Go. I'll be a good king in your absence, I assure him. You already are, he says. And let's go. Before looking forward as we proceed to the transport, we get downstairs, and one of his detail moves to open his door, but I stop him and open it for him. I love you, I tell him as he settles inside the car, and he tells me he loves me too. I close the door, and the cars start moving, causing the tears that I've been holding back to fall as I raise my hand and wave at him one last time. Goodbye, father. I'll be a good king. I promise I won't let you down any more than I already have, I whisper before wiping my tears and heading back inside. I head straight for the throne room and order everybody out before taking out my phone and giving the confirmation to the mercenaries I've hired. I don't even wait for them to reply as I slide down to the floor, the phone slipping out of my hand as the magnitude of what I've done shatters my soul. I'm sorry, father. I'm so sorry. Terrified. Nova. My eyes snap open at the absence of Nolan's arms around me, and I hear him get up. It's morning, and the city's awake and buzzing with the morning rush. Clicking of shoes against the pavement, cars hooting, and cab drivers impatiently hollering at each other can be heard. Everyone trying to make it in time to where they are going. But all that didn't wake me this morning like it normally does. I guess getting a job and knowing Nolan's most likely getting one too today has made me somewhat tranquil. At least now we know we'll be able to afford a roof over our heads soon. It would even be sooner if we didn't have to save for doing the documents first. We are still unsure of how we're going to go about getting them, but we'll figure it out. I haven't asked for the advance yet. It just seemed a bit much to do that on the first day. My contract that is yet to be finalized, since pending my documents, states that I will be getting paid weekly, so I decided to work a full week and then ask for an advance the following week. That way, I could combine what they are willing to give me with my wages and hopefully speed up the process. I miss sleeping in a warm, comfy bed. Parts 1. Didn't even know I had hurt from sleeping on the cold, hard floor. Morning, Nolan says, bending down as I sit up to give me a kiss on the lips. Morning. After Nolan left the restaurant, he went to a few more places like he said he would, but he didn't get anything, so he went to hang out at the park to pass the time, but a guy who was walking his dog sat next to him and they ended up conversing. Even though I have no idea how that guy got him to talk, Nolan isn't much of a talker, especially when he doesn't know a person. The guy ended up telling him about a farm his uncle owns just west of here that grows apples, and also told him they are hiring, so Nolan is heading there this morning. He was going to come fetch him, but we can't have him come here. So Nolan asked him to wait for him in the park, and that's where we'll be heading. But we have to walk to the subway first. We use the bathrooms down there to clean up every morning, so we at least look presentable, and we also wash our 2 pairs of clothing there at night. I'm working a late shift again today, so I'm going to find a place to hang around until my shift starts. It's going to be lonely without Nolan, but we have to get used to spending time apart now. Now we are going to be like other couples who go their separate ways in the morning and meet in the evening. What are you going to do today? He asks me again, even though he already asked me last night, and I told him he's very worried about leaving me out here alone. But I'll be okay, I'm a wolf after all. Not some defenseless human. I can stand up for myself, I tell him again, getting up to fold our things so I can put them back in the bag. I made tips last night and I bought us a blanket. It's not big or too warm, but we at least cover our upper bodies. Let me, he says, taking over and folding the stuff, causing me to smile, but it soon falters as the light coming from the opposite building shines down on his face. I stare at him, noticing how bad he looks as compared to last night. He can't go on like this. The last time Nolan had blood was when he was still living in the cave. Can you sit down for a minute? I ask, already starting to sit before patting the spot next to me, causing him to frown, concern immediately taking over his facial features. Sure. What's wrong? He asks, doing as requested, and I open my mouth only to close it again, deciding not to talk about it and just do it instead. Talking about it is scarier. I get on my knees and move closer to him, separating his crossed legs before straightening them. He doesn't resist, and I position myself between them. I undo the first buttons of my shirt, causing his frown to deepen, confusion now taking over his features as I lower the shirt on one shoulder, leaving the neck and shoulder bare before moving my hair to one side. What a dash. Feed on me, I tell him, looking him in the eye, trying to hide the tremble of my hands under the fabric of the shirt. I'm terrified, but I don't know any other way. No, he says, shaking his head, his eyes immediately filling with an emotion I can't decipher before looking away from me, but I grab his face and gently turn it so he's facing me again. You need to feed, Nolan, please just do it, please. And my voice comes out softer than intended, the fear intensifying as he rejects my offer. But I can't let him go out there looking like this. He looks sick. I don't even know how that guy offered him a job in the first place. Even his skin feels and looks dry. Please, I whisper again, letting go of his face, using one hand to hold my hair in one place. I don't want to hurt you, he says, his voice low and different as he swallows hard, the veins around his eyes darkening, like he's battling himself, causing me to swallow hard too, my throat feeling dry. Looking at him, Carla and I have been mulling over this for a while. Now she's the one giving me the little courage I have. The human part of me is scared shitless. He cups my face and places a kiss on my forehead before his hands move to my waist, and a small whimper escapes me as he pulls me to his lap. My heart beating faster and faster. Carla tries to calm me down with reassuring words, even though her voice is trembling herself. She's also scared. I can feel it. I watch the white in his eyes slowly getting swallowed by the black, and I decide to close my eyes as he leans into my neck. My one hand grips his shirt by reflex when I feel his breath fanning my neck before feeling his lips on the spot where mates used to mark each other according to the stories I heard. He places a kiss on it and I tighten my grip on him, bracing for the pain. But it never comes. I just hear a sob before feeling his face against my shoulder and he hugs me. I can't, I hear him say with a quavering voice before feeling something wet running down my shoulder. I realize he's crying, and tears instantly flow from my eyes too as I hug him back, both of us sobbing in each other's arms. Nolan, the vampire. What do you mean? What does that mean? I ask the Nathan guy, my eyes widening as panic starts to take over. I waited on the south corner where Nova and I usually meet when she's done with work, but she didn't show. I decided to come up and check since I saw they were closing when I walked past 15 minutes ago, and I found the guy busy locking up the place, telling me everyone had gone home already. I asked where Nova was, calling her by the name she uses here cause she doesn't go with the staff transport, and he told me she wasn't feeling well and left 30 minutes prior to closing. I step up to him, invading his personal space, using everything in me not to grab him by the throat, and he crosses his arms over his chest, unfazed since he thinks I'm a mere human about to make a mistake of taking on a wolf. But I'm afraid I won't be able to let him think that for long if he doesn't start making sense. Nova didn't come back. Look, man, I don't know what to tell you. If she didn't come home, maybe she went to the hospital and got admitted or something. Check there, he says. But that's not possible. Nova doesn't know where the hospital is, and she would never go anywhere without me. What the fuck have they done to her? I feel something rising in my chest and I close my eyes, feeling them changing, but just then her scent hits my nose, causing my head to snap in its direction before taking off running to it. You're welcome, weirdo, the guy says, muttering the last part to himself, but I hear him and let out a breath of relief as Nova emerges just as I'm about to turn the corner. Her eyes widen, taking in my state, and she opens her mouth to speak, but I cut her off, engulfing her in a hug. You scared the shit out of me, I tell her, tightening my arms around her, causing her breath to hitch, and I loosen up a bit, realizing I'm crushing her. I'm sorry, I thought I was going to make it back before you came, she says, hugging me back, and we hug each other for a long moment before pulling back. They said you are sick. Are you sick? Where did you go? I ask, placing my hand on her forehead as we pull back from the hug. No, I'm not sick. I just needed to go somewhere, she says, but I freeze, taking in the smell of blood I didn't pay attention to before. It's coming from the bag she's got in her hand, and my eyes start to change as it takes over my senses. I went to get you some, she says, and that snaps me back to reality. She put herself in danger again because of me. How did she even manage this? Where did you get this? From the hospital. It's only 2 miles west of here. You shouldn't have done that. It's okay. No one saw me. Promise me you won't do something like this again. Nova, you won't put your life at Nolan. Promise me. My voice comes out louder than intended, causing her to flinch, a hurt look flashing in her eyes. I'm sorry, I tell her, pulling her into a hug. I was only trying to help. She speaks into the hug, her voice sounding like she's about to cry, causing me to pull back and cup her face, my chest tightening. I know I'm sorry, I tell her, and place a kiss on her forehead before caressing her left cheek, causing her to lean into the touch after placing her hand on top of mine. Thank you, but you've already risked your life once for me, and I will not have you doing it again. Ever. You've already lost so much. Your heartbeat is the only thing you've got left now, and I won't have that taken away from you too, I tell her, and pull her into a hug again, resting my chin on top of her head. You're wrong. You know, I hear her say after a moment. It's not the only thing I've got you, and you're my heart, she says, tightening her hold on me, causing tears to well in my eyes. Royalty. Nolan Silver. What the ? I mutter. abruptly sitting up and putting my bedside light on as my bedroom door burst open with a bang. "What the hell, Nolan?" Cora screams, rushing inside the room, fuming before grabbing my favorite painting and throwing it across the room, causing me to jump off the bed and restrain her as she heads for my stereo amplifiers, also glancing at the doors, wondering if they have swung closed, yet cautious if they haven't. The whole palace heard that, but I'm relieved seeing they have. Fuck. What the hell are you doing, Cora? What the hell is this? You lied to me again, you traitorous piece of shit. Why the hell is he still alive, Nolan? Why is Anselm still breathing? Fuck. I thought I had until morning before she found out. There was a problem, and it had to be delayed. Don't lie to me. She screams, struggling to get out of my hold, getting more pissed. Okay. I'm sorry. I can't do it, Cora. I can't kill my father. I'm sorry, okay? But I'll find another way, I promise. You are so bloody weak. I can't believe I thought you could pull this whole thing off. I was so bloody stupid. I should have handled it myself. I will find another way, Cora, please. Get off of me, she says, looking me in the eye, not struggling anymore. Promise you'll calm down first. Get off of me, Nolan, before I make you, she warns through gritted teeth. Okay. I let her go. The last thing I need is an excruciating headache. In the middle of the night she massages her temples with her eyes closed, her breathing calming down before walking over to my bed and sitting down on it. I follow her and sit next to her. Cora I start speaking, but she cuts me off. Stop talking, she orders, an eerie calmness in her voice. And I obey. I trusted a prince once. I had a plan, but I deviated from my plan because he gave me his word. He was a prince after all. His word had to mean something, right? At least that's what I thought. I let my guard down and followed everything he said, believed in him, only to end up with nothing but a broken heart. I wasted time and lost everyone I ever cared about, and instead of learning from my mistake, I turned around 52 years later and did the same thing again, she says, making me look at her confused. What is she talking about? And what does she mean she turned around 52 years later and did the same? Yes, Nolan, I'm 74 years old now. Get over it, she says, making my eyes widen, shocked. What the fuck? I knew there was no way she was 25 since coming to know she's a witch. I started doing research on her kind. I didn't want any nasty surprises, and I found out that they could slow down their aging process when required. And since she's on a mission, I knew she most likely did it. But still, I thought she was maybe 35 or 40 even. But 74? She's the same age as father. Oh, God. Could she be talking about him? I always got a vibe from her when talking about him, long before finding out who she is and her true intentions. And I also haven't failed to notice how effortlessly his name rolls off her tongue like they are familiar. I fell for Ares like some stupid girl and wasted time trying to save him, risking the only family I have left, again only for him to reject me and break my heart like his father, she says, as if she can read my mind. Or can she? She told me she couldn't read people without their consent, but is that even true? I don't even know anymore. It won't happen again. Nolan, you won't be that lucky. You won't make a fool out of me, she says, now sternly looking me in the eye, and I suddenly feel a chill run down my spine. I swallow hard. Her eyes not those of a 20-year-old but a 74-year-old as she slowly turns into an old woman right in front of my eyes after removing the sapphire ring on her finger. Every great victory requires a great sacrifice. I'm sure you've heard this saying. In every war, there are casualties. Child, you need to understand this. I did. When I killed Ares, I loved him, but I understood. I thought you did too. But clearly, I was wrong, she continues, still looking sternly at me before sliding her ring back on and getting up from the bed. I'm giving you until the next fortnight to announce our engagement. she adds, and walks away after that, exiting the room. What the fuck? Nova. Hey, I softly say, brushing Nolan's hair that stuck to his forehead back as he stirs. I've got his head on my lap. He had one of his headaches again, and I returned from work to find him passed out on the floor. I always feared this when we were living on the streets, but the gods heard my prayers. He only got them 3 times, twice in the alley and once in that house. And all 3 times I was with him. If he wasn't what he is, we would consult a doctor about this. It scares me, and it hurts watching him go through them. I can feel how painful they are, and I strongly think they are connected to his memory loss. It's also very strange how they only occur at night. I'm sorry, he says as I help him sit up before handing him a glass of water. He always apologizes when waking up from them, even though I told him not to. It's not his fault. I'm sure he never asked for them. He drinks the water and hugs me afterward. We silently hug each other for a long moment before pulling back and sharing a quick kiss. Come, I brought pizza, I tell him, taking his hand, and we move to the couch. Nolan and I are now living in a small 1-room apartment that we moved into 3 weeks ago. It's now 4 months later, and we were supposed to have gotten the place last month already, but life happened when Nolan got the job at the farm. He told Joel, the guy that helped him get the job, that he didn't have his documents, that he lost them in a fire. The same story I told Vance, and Joel said it was fine. They weren't needed, but told Nolan he knew a guy who could get him the documents quickly and easily. If Nolan was struggling with it, I guess he saw through him, too. After speaking to me, Nolan accepted Joel's help. It was expensive, but we expected it to be. I mean, we were getting new identities. We would finally be able to register for things and use public services, like hospitals. So we didn't mind giving all our savings, but the guy was caught by the police and arrested before he could deliver. He was apparently under investigation during the time we approached him, but didn't take it seriously. Since he had never been caught, we were devastated. We never slept a wink that night, and I couldn't even focus at work. I spent half the shift crying in the bathroom, but Nolan had news. When he returned from work, Joel told Nolan he had gotten a word from the guy. He told Joel to take Nolan to another guy he worked with. He was going to sort us out, but when Nolan got there, the guy asked for more money and wouldn't budge. Nolan came very close to compelling him and risking everything, but Joel walked in just as he was about to, and he stopped. We had to delay getting the apartment and gather that money first, and my wages was also being cut. Since I'm still paying back the advance I took, we ended up spending another 3 months on the streets. Cost Nolan is getting peanuts on that farm. That guy is exploiting the poor workers. They work 12-hour shifts in the scorching sun with no benefits, nothing, and he only hires human foreigners with not many options, so he can prey on them. The guy is a wolf. Joel's one too. Nolan comes back heartbroken every day for the people. He ends up doing more than he has to cost. At least he's stronger, and he can stand the sun. Unlike them, I told him I want him to quit the minute we get our documents so he can look for a better job. I'm finishing with the advance this week. Costs. I've been working double shifts ever since we moved in here. I came back a little early today though, because everyone went to the annual staff party. I was invited too, but I declined. Although everyone has been nice to me so far and very patient considering how slow I was in the first 3 weeks. I'm not ready to attend events and things like that yet. I'm not in the right headspace for that. You finished early today? Nolan asks, wrapping his hand around my waist and pulling me closer to him. So I'm sitting between his legs before placing the pizza box on my lap. We are currently cuddling on the couch. Our first couch. It's a second-hand couch, but still in very good condition, and the fact that we bought it with our hard-earned money makes it that much more special. We don't have a lot of things yet, but our apartment is cozy enough, and it's nothing like living outside. Nolan's back to reading up on vampires again. He takes a day off every week and spends it at the library, since I'm always working. Anyway, he found out about the library through a guy he works with, and he uses his card since he doesn't have his ID. He's also reading up on wolves, too, and discovered that a princess who loses her virtue before marriage is disgraced. So he has promised to wait until we are married. I told him I'm not a princess, At least I don't consider myself one anymore, but he told me I'm his princess, and that he's going to wait until he makes me his queen. I cried. He touched me with his words. Nolan is a vampire, and our union has brought us more grief than I could have ever imagined. But it has also made me love and feel loved in a way I could have never imagined. Even sitting here now, not knowing if the storms are over, I still wouldn't trade him for anything. Love? He says, making me realize I didn't reply to him. We closed early today. It's the day of the staff party. So, you really didn't want to go, huh? No, I reply, shaking my head. I'm not ready for that yet. You know I'd go with you wherever, if you needed me to, right? He says, and pecks the side of my head. I know he would have gone with me even though he didn't want to. He would have gone just for me. I know, my love, I reply, bringing his hand to my lips and leaving a kiss atop of it. But a thought crosses my mind. Nolan? Do you think there are more vampires out there wearing this ring? I don't know. On that last night at the apartment before everything happened, I was reading up on it, so it was the first thing I did research on when I got to the library centuries ago. Almost every vampire had the ring. There would be an initiation, and if you passed, you were given the ring. If you failed, you remained a night walker until you were given the opportunity again. But you had to wait a long time before that happened again. I also discovered that there used to be 5 vampire kings. Not just one. One of them was mated to a powerful witch, who was the descendant of the Ambi witches. They were born of the first witches. The word ambi comes from the Latin word ambidexter. It means right-handed on both sides. The reason they were called that is because, unlike other witches who could manipulate one element, these witches could manipulate all elements at will, but their power came at a great cost. Their days were numbered. As in literary numbers, they could only live for 35 years, not past that. They simply just didn't wake up on their 36th birthday. The witch's name was Nephia, and she was the only one who could make the rings. Her 36th birthday came and Nephia died. Her mate, King Effort, refused to live without her and took his own life to be with her. They had 5 children, but their youngest daughter, Warua, was the only one who inherited her mother's gifts. The surrounding kings saw an opportunity for power and asked Warua's brother, who was now king even though very young himself, for the young princess's hand. Her brother asked her to choose, and her choice angered King Edwield. He ruled the second largest kingdom and was known for his cruelty. He had her kidnapped, and when she refused him, he cut out her tongue and hands. The young witch, although powerful, didn't yet know how to use her powers. Since she was still very young and untrained, she went mad, and the spell for the rings was lost. After that, vampires with the rings started getting killed for their rings, and, by the end, only those who were powerful, like royal families, had them. The last king to have the ring was King Piotria, and that was more than 10 centuries ago, long before the kingdoms were united as one. Wow, so, how do you think you got it? Do you think that you could maybe be from that family? I ask, pushing up against him so I can turn my head and look at him. Nova, that was more than 10 centuries ago. Yeah. Asterisk, but you don't know how old you are, and vampires live for centuries. And this could be any other ring. Almost all vampires had them, remember? He says, pecking me on the lips. I don't like cold pizza, he adds, fake pouting before pecking me on the nose. And I get it, and drop the subject. I lean back on him as he secures his arm around my waist again, and we start digging into our pepperoni pizza. Merry Christmas. Blood sacrifices. Warning, the following chapter has content that may be upsetting to sensitive readers. Nova. Aurora. I hear someone say before feeling a slight tap on my shoulder, causing me to turn my head to my left to find Mark, my manager, looking at me with a concerned frown on his face, and I realize he's been calling out to me for a while now. But I forgot I was Aurora. I've been Aurora for more than 3 months now, but I still forget the name every time someone uses it. Carla always has to remind me, but today, she hasn't been doing it. She says it's not helping, that I will never get used to the name if she keeps doing it. I'm sorry, Mark, were you saying something? Are you okay? Yes, I'm fine. Are you sure? Yes, what can I do for you? Okay, he says, and I can see he's not convinced. The boss is here and he would like to see you in his office. He adds, causing my heart rate to accelerate. He's going to ask me about my documents. And I don't know what I'm going to tell him. Vance gave me 3 weeks to bring them and it's now 3 months and I haven't even explained why I still haven't brought them. I've just been keeping quiet. Glad he's not saying anything, but now it looks like my luck has run out. Nolan is meeting with that guy after work to collect them, but I'm not even sure that's going to happen. Since I don't want to put my hopes too high and get disappointed again, I've come to understand very well what is meant by leaving room for disappointment since I've been out here. I take a deep breath to try and calm myself down before taking nervous steps. To his office I knock once and push the door open after hearing a low come in. Take a seat, he says as I enter. Eyes cast down. Vance is an alpha. I can feel it. I'm an alpha too. But because of my lineage and rank, I can submit him. So Carla always suppresses our aura around him. She does it enough for him not to even sense that I'm an alpha, because if she released it, it would give away what I am, which will then lead to him finding out who I am. All that sneaking around is finally paying off. I became very good at suppressing my aura, since I was always trying to blend in with everyone, elude my security detail, or sneak out to have some quiet time by myself. Now I can go for days without releasing my aura, unlike other royals. The only time I'm free to release it is when I'm around Nolan. Cost the ring helps him take it. A thought crosses my mind that I'll have to test something when I get home tonight. Thank you, I mutter, taking the seat in front of Vance's desk. He asks me how I'm doing and how it's going, and I tell him I'm great, and that everything is going great. He also asks me why I didn't attend the staff function, and I tell him I had something on at home and that I will attend next time. I'm surprised to be having this conversation. I thought he was going to straight ask me for the documents, but he isn't, and I'm keeping my fingers crossed he doesn't. This is for you, he says, sliding what looks to be a small gift bag in front of me, causing me to look at it, then him, confused. What is it? What's it for? It's a thank you gift. Everyone got them at the function. Thanks. But I just started here. I'm sure I don't qualify for 1 inch. Don't be silly. Open it, he says with a warm smile, leaning back on his chair, and I reluctantly take the bag, looking at him the whole time. I peek inside, and there's a small black box. I take it out and open it, and it's a pair of diamond earrings. Thank you, but I'm sorry, I can't accept this, I tell him, closing the box and putting it back in the bag, suddenly feeling uncomfortable, and Carla suspiciously narrows her eyes at him too. Why not? He asks, placing his hand on top of mine as I slide the box back to him, causing me to recoil from the inside, hating his touch. What is he trying to do? He sees my discomfort and quickly apologizes. I'm not coming on to you. I know you have a boyfriend, he defends. I buy all my staff jewelry, he adds, looking at me with a raised brow, a tinge of amusement in his eyes. I didn't dash. You didn't say it. No, but that's what you are thinking. That's why you are refusing the earrings. You are beautiful, Aurora. But I have a girlfriend that I happen to love very much. And even if I didn't, I don't get into personal relations with my staff, he continues, making me blush, embarrassed, suddenly feeling stupid. Of course, he doesn't. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to be rude or imply anything. They just look so expensive. They are, but I like spending money on my staff. I like to make them feel special. They make me the money, after all. But if you don't want them, dash. I do. I want them. They are beautiful. Thank you. I cut him off, taking them, feeling bad for seeming ungrateful. Are you sure? Cause I don't want you to be uncomfortable here. I'm positive I'm not comfortable. Good, that will be all then, he says, and I thank him again before getting up and heading to the exit. Vance. I pick up my phone the moment the girl walks out, but there's a knock on my door before it clicks open, revealing the person I'm calling, causing me to drop the call. "What are you doing here?" I ask her with a big smile on my face, getting up to give her a hug, and we share a passionate but quick kiss. After that, I needed a herb from down the road, so I thought I would just pop in and see if you are busy, maybe even grab lunch. "I haven't eaten anything today, I hate eating alone," she says the last part with a slight pout, and my heart clenches, noticing the bags under her eyes. "I wanted it to be a surprise, but I can't keep it from you any longer. I found a girl, and she's a wolf too," I tell her, sitting on my desk in front of her, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear before giving her a kiss on her forehead. "You have?" Her lips immediately stretch into a smile, her eyes gleaming with happiness before tucking her lower lip between her teeth. "It's been a while since she fed. I ran into a little trouble and had to lie low for a bit, but now it's cleared." "Yes. I hired her 3 months ago already, but I wanted to make sure I was done with all my away trips so I can be here for you when it's time," I explain, and she gets up and presses her lips against mine in a fiery kiss that leaves me wanting more. "Astrid is my girlfriend, and she's a witch, but nobody knows that a few months ago, I was sitting at the bar drinking myself into oblivion after seeing an announcement of my cousin's wedding, and crowning. A woman came and sat next to me, and we started throwing down together. She was going through something, too. We took the party home when the club closed, and by the end of the night, we had unburdened ourselves. After telling her my life story that I never share with anyone, I freaked out and decided I was going to kill her. I couldn't let her go out there knowing who I was and what I was planning, but she suddenly cupped my face and looked me in the eye, causing me to lean into her, wanting to kiss her, thinking she wanted me to fuck her. But she stopped me. She made me a promise to help me defeat my enemies and claim my birthright if I helped her get strong again by supplying her with hearts to consume so she can remain young, preferably those of untouched women, so she may be able to practice magic again. She said all hearts keep her young, but they take her ability to practice magic away if they are not from untouched women. She also wanted me to promise to make her my queen and give her a child. I agreed and gave her my word without even thinking twice. I thought she was messing with me. I didn't believe she was a witch. I mean, there hadn't been witches in decades, and she even had an excuse why she couldn't practice magic. She looked 20, and yet she was saying she's 62. I was laughing when I went downstairs to get my housekeeper before telling her she could have her first heart, but my eyes widened, and the laughter died in my throat when Eve dropped to the ground, screaming and clutching her head after Astrid touched her forehead and recited something in a foreign language. She took a knife and removed her heart before eating it right in front of my eyes, and everything was a blur after that. When I opened my eyes in the morning, I was convinced it had been a nightmare until she walked into my bedroom with breakfast. Fast forward a few months later, here we are, madly in love and on a mission. I made her a promise to only give her innocent hearts so she can retain her magic. And I haven't broken my promise. Once I lure unsuspecting girls with money and expensive gifts when I go on business trips and bring them to her. After making sure they are what I'm looking for, I have a white pearl that's sealed in a small bottle that I always carry with me wherever I go. Astrid gave it to me, and it tells me which women are innocent and which are not. All I have to do is to be in close proximity to my target, and the pearl will remain white or turn black if the person is not a virgin. I don't hunt locally cause it will be noticed if people start disappearing. But Aurora is not a local. She just moved here and knows no one. She doesn't even have documents, so she's not legal, which makes her fair game. And the fact that she's a wolf makes her even better. She'll keep Astrid going for up to a year. I haven't been able to get her a wolf yet, but that's what she told me. That pathetic human she's dating should be easy to get rid of. "Thank you, my love," she says, pecking me on the lips again. "Is she pure?" Of course. I made sure I even shook the bottle to make extra sure the color didn't change before approaching her. "She's untouched. You know I don't take any chances when it comes to you. Now come, let's go eat," I tell her, taking her hand and leading her out to the front. I'm sure the girl is a virgin. I even took the bottle out of my jacket and made sure, before making the decision, she's probably one of those that save themselves for marriage. And now it will be the death of her. A part of me feels sorry for her. She seems like a nice girl who's down on her luck, but it is what it is. Breaking virgin hearts is a small price to pay for bringing my enemies to their knees. I will reclaim my birthright, and all those who stood idle while my mother and I were banished will pay. King of Brakendal. Nolan the Vampire. I sigh, plopping on the bed before taking out my phone and looking at the text Nova sent me earlier. Again, she told me she's going to be working her second shift at Vance's place, and that doesn't sit well with me. I don't trust that Vance. There's something dark about him. I can feel it, but I didn't say anything to Nova. I just told her okay. I don't want to make things difficult for her. Everything she's doing for us. Nova is right about me becoming fond of the people, but she's wrong about me not wanting to leave the farm. There's no way I could want to stay there and watch her break her back the way she has been to support us. It's my job to look after her and to provide, which is why I went straight to the library to search for jobs online yesterday already after getting our IDs from that guy. And tomorrow morning I have an interview at a nightclub downtown. I'm not going to tell her, though, 'cause I want it to be a surprise. If I get the job, I'm surprised I got an interview so soon. I didn't think I would, considering I don't have any skills. Since I don't remember them, the job pays way more than what I was getting on the farm. So if I get it, I'll be able to get us a better place, and Nova can further her studies like she would have liked. I can even start saving for our future. Nova left everything for me, and I'm going to spend the rest of my life showing her how much I appreciate her. At that thought, an idea pops into my head, and I look at the clock. I decide to use the 4 hours I have productively and prepare us a romantic dinner, since she's going to be back a little early tonight. Vance. I'm sorry, honey, I forgot to let you know we don't have to go to that dinner anymore. It's canceled, she says, making me confused. It is? Yes, you can take her home and I'll explain everything to you when you come back. Are you sure? Yes, I'm sure, she says and turns to Aurora with a smile. I'm sorry for wasting your time. No, don't worry, it's okay, she replies with a polite smile. These are beautiful, they suit you, Astrid compliments, reaching for Aurora's earring while I stand there dumbfounded. Can I please talk to you for a moment? I ask Astrid, not able to wait to find out what's going on. Aurora, you don't mind if I have a word with my girlfriend, do you? No, go ahead, it's fine, she replies, and I gesture for her to take a seat, and she does, before tugging Astrid's arm and leading her away from her. What's going on? Why are you letting her go? Because she's not what you think she is, she says, making me look at her confused. But she continues before I speak, she's not who you think she is, Vance. She's no ordinary wolf. What do you mean? Her aura. It's much more than she lets on. She's your equal, she says, and my brow shoots up in question. My equal? What does that mean? She's an alpha? Not just an alpha, she's a royal, she explains, only to make me more confused. That's impossible. If she were a royal, I would have felt it, Clyde, and I would have both felt it. That's impossible, Astrid. I would have felt it. If she were, I would know. One could say the same thing about you. Yeah, because I suppress my or dash, I start to say, but stop mid-sentence as realization dawns on me. She's suppressing her aura? I whisper, shocked. Why? Who is she? I mutter, turning to look in her direction, but freeze as another realization dawns on me. Did he find me? The thought causes my blood to boil, and just as my body starts to tremble, I feel Astrid's hand on my arm, causing me to look in her eyes, starting to pant due to the constriction in my chest. Calm down, don't get ahead of yourself. Let's first find out who she really is, she says, opening her palm and showing me a strand of hair that looks like Aurora's hair, and I realize that's what she must have been doing when she reached for her earrings. I can't run, I won't run, not anymore, I tell her, burying my fingers in my hair in frustration. I know. And maybe you won't have to, maybe she's another outcast like you who's just trying to keep her head down, she says, cupping my face with a reassuring look in her eyes. And I hope she's right, I'm not ready to fight, yet I don't have the backup that I need to take on my uncle. But I refuse to start over again, I won't do it, not after I've worked so hard to get where I am. Take her home, I will have answers when you return, she adds, pecking me on the lips, but I can't, I'm not sure I can even look at her without wanting to confront her. Get a grip on yourself, Armand. Her voice comes out a little loud and firm, her grip tightening on my face. I haven't heard someone call me by that name in a long time, and hearing it does something to me. Armand is my birth name, it means soldier. It's like my mother knew what was coming, I suppose she did. She and my father had decided to name me Braylon, but my mother changed the name the day I was born, which is also the day my father died. My father wasn't just a king, he was a warrior, the strongest wolf in all 8 kingdoms, but he was also a kind and gentle king. At least that's what my mother told me after training. He would go for a run every morning, and he never took his escort. When he did, it was safe. He didn't have a need to. But one morning he never returned. A search party was dispatched, and he was found dead near a lake he liked to go sit next to when he wanted some time to himself. He had 3 silver wounds in his chest, and he was also naked since he was in his wolf form. When he left the palace, my mother, who was pregnant with me at the time, went into labor upon hearing the news. My father's assassination came as a shock to everyone because of the man he was. Everyone loved him, and even the man my uncle had executed for his death died denying the deed, professing his love for his late king. Astrid slides her hands to my chest, snapping me out of my thoughts. If Tobias sent her, we will deal with it. She doesn't know we are on to her. So we still have the element of surprise, we still have the upper hand, but if you start acting like this, she'll know something's up. Just go out there, act normal, and take her home, she says. And she's right, I can't afford to lose my cool. Find out who she is, I tell her, cupping her face and placing a kiss on her forehead before turning around and heading out of the room. I walk into the living room to find her staring at her phone, her back to me, and I stand and stare at her for a second before she turns her head and sees me. If you are busy, I don't mind taking a cab back. That won't be necessary, I'm done. We can go, I reply, and she gets to her feet. I'm sorry again for wasting your time. I will pay you the money as promised. Thank you, but I could just go back to work and finish my shift. You don't dash. I insist. I cut her off, gesturing for her to walk ahead. And she does. We head to the car, and I take her home. She's quiet again for the whole ride home, and I keep stealing glances at her, wondering if she could really be a spy, wondering who she is. Could he have had a daughter? Could she be my sister? She gives me directions to her place, and I must say, if she's a spy, she's really good cause. Even the place she's staying at fits her disguise. If I were just a regular rich human, I'd be worried about coming to a place like this. She thanks me, and I bid her good night before pulling out with a screeching sound. I just want to get back home and find out who the hell she is and what she wants with me. I get home in record time and run inside the house after parking my car. Astrid is not in front, so I run to the green room. It's not literal. It's the room where she does her spells and rituals and also keeps her herbs. I push the door open, the smell of sage greeting me as I enter, and find her sitting on the floor with her legs crossed in front of her. Her eyes are closed, and I notice the strand of hair on her open palm that's now resting on her lap. I quietly sit in front of her, crossing my legs as well, but do not close my eyes. She hums, and just then a small wind circles her, causing her hair to float in the air. Dancing to the wind, I watch as the strand of her starts to float as well before the lights flicker and go out, causing an unsettling feeling even though I know what's coming next. There's a hissing sound that causes the hair at the back of my neck to stand, and I feel something brush against my lower back as it slithers past me, circling us in the pitch black room. When this happens, Even Clyde's eyes don't see. I would personally prefer not to ever be in the room when Astrid consults, but she says it's better if Mother, as she calls it, and I get familiar with each other. She says that way she will be able to find me and protect me when she's unable to. As reassuring as that sounds, I'd be lying if I said she didn't creep me out magna cum laude. Astrid mutters after a moment, and the lights flicker before coming back on, and she opens her eyes. Her name is Nova Kane. She's the daughter of Duncan and Rosaline Kane, she says, causing my mouth to gape, shocked. She's my cousin's fiancé, and an alert was put out a few months ago that she had been kidnapped by a vampire. I get to my feet, my skin crawling at the thought of how pale her boyfriend looked, but he didn't have a vampire scent or aura. Everything about him was human. He was even walking in broad daylight. I know I wasn't paying attention to him, but I would have smelt him. She also doesn't look like someone who's held against her while they looked in love. What are you going to do? Astrid asks, getting to her feet as well, and I look at her, contemplating how desperate is the council to get their hands on this vampire? What would they be willing to do for the person who captures it? And more importantly, what would her father be willing to do for the wolf who brings his daughter home? Would he be grateful enough to ally himself with an exiled prince whose crown was stolen from him? With the rightful king of Brakendal? We have a princess to save and maybe a vampire to capture.